Adventure Time's new series, Fionna and Cake, is finally here. Over the next 5 weeks, you're in store for some of the craziest episodes you've ever seen from the Adventure Time franchise. And we'll be breaking down all 10 episodes every step of the way. To me, this series feels like Adventure Time reaching its final form, still embracing the surrealness, but using that surrealness to lean more into the existential themes than ever before. And with a clear, serialized narrative, you're going to get answers to a lot of big questions a lot sooner than you would have with the original series. I'm glad this franchise is able to level up with a full-fledged adult series, TV-14 rating and everything. And yes, I never thought I had to say it, but TV-14 is a rating that's applied to young adult media. That does not mean 14-year-olds are adults. It really just means that most media aimed at adults isn't out of pocket enough to have a TVMA rating. TV-14 is just TV's answer to the PG-13 rating, or video games being rated T. It's appropriate if you're a teen, not just a kid.
That's a suggestion. They have to put that on there.
And it's classified as adult animation. And aside from a few exceptions, like when they did A Month with Miyazaki, you're basically never going to see a TV-14 program running on Cartoon Network, as opposed to Adult Swim or Max. There's been some weird Twitter discourse over Fionna and Cake's status as an adult animated series. Go follow me at UltraFox. But now that these first 2 episodes are out, with instances of blood, swearing, and alcohol consumption sprinkled throughout, I don't think you can argue against that status anymore. Especially since the core message of the story is aimed at 20 to 30 somethings who grew up with the series. People who have a decent amount of life experience under their belt. Alright, with that little tangent out of the way, I think the best place to start our coverage of Fionna and Cake on the Roundtable is the incredible theme song. I am in love with this thing. I seriously cannot stop watching it. Clocking in at 30 seconds. I love how it starts as something familiar to the audience, before becoming the complete opposite of the original Adventure Time theme song. You wanna dissect both. But whereas the OG is pretty straightforward and literally tells you what you're in store for, this one is cryptic and creates an air of mystery around it throughout, which fits this show perfectly. So what hidden details and hints at the overarching story can be found here? Let's unpack this intro frame by frame and see what we can piece together. And before we dive in, please subscribe to the Roundtable with notifications on if you end up enjoying this video. It not only helps out the channel, but keeps you in the loop with all of our Fionna and Cake content. Thanks, I appreciate it. This theme song starts like your typical Adventure Time opening, as the camera zooms through a forest in the land of Ooh, and goes up into the human city, which is the end result of humans returning to the land of Ooh at the end of Come Along With Me. The floating city, alongside its architecture and fashion, reminds me a lot of The Drift from the Distant Land special BMO. The future for one civilization harkens back to the past for another. It's cool how Fionna and Cake is slowly tying in each of the Distant Land specials in different ways. At least if this and Dark Choose Goose is any indication. This quick tour of the city takes us to the home of Simon Petrikov, or should I say faux home, as Simon's new digs and occupation is acting as a living exhibit of a 20th century man, showing these new humans how they used to live. It's sad, not only because Simon is kinda living like a zoo animal, but it's clear this is his last resort for some sense of normalcy, now that he's just a regular guy in a magic world. He feels as if this is the closest thing he has to fitting in. Simon's wearing his coat stained with blood and a bandage wrapped around his arm, a look he acquires in the second episode after adventuring with Finn. We enter Simon's mind, which reveals Fionna and Cake's own universe, except now it's all normal and boring. The first 2 episodes make it clear that Simon is linked to Fionna and Cake's world. There's a mysterious statue of Betty. Fionna's TV only plays Cheers regardless of the channel. Later we see Simon has Cheers on in his home, and Cake pops right out of Simon's head after jumping through a portal in an ice cream cart. And she seemed to be seeing portals in anything made of ice. But what does this all mean? Why is Simon linked to Fionna and Cake's world? I guess you just gotta keep watching to find out. The camera zips through the window of Fionna's apartment, but instead of the messy home of a 30-year-old woman, we're greeted with a black void that quickly reveals Simon's glasses through a first-person perspective, cementing that his own perspective is pivotal to this story. And in front of his glasses is a figure of Golb attached to a wired clip.
What's that about?
Well, I'm assuming you already know if you watched the second episode, but it's revealed that Simon has crossed science with magic, engineering a way to open portals to the multiverse through ritual, in the hopes of seeing Betty again. This also fries Shoes Goose in the process. He's seen better days. But of course, things don't work out for Simon the way he'd hope. Moving along, this is where the theme song deviates from the Adventure Time formula. Instead of a sign of unity like with the fist pump, the gold figure breaks into two pieces. In-universe, this is likely a sign that Fionna and Cake have crossed over into Finn and Jake's world. But from a meta standpoint, I interpret this as the show literally breaking off into its own thing, setting the stage for its multiverse premise. The now corrupted theme song cycles through 3 different Finns, as if it was someone flipping through TV channels. Why does that sound kind of familiar? We have Fionna, running through her city in her tour guide uniform as seen in the first episode. A short stack that looks like Tough Tootin' Baby Finn, running through a destroyed city. From the trailers, we can gauge that this is likely a universe with vampires running amok. But why's a baby Finn there? And last but not least, we have our beloved Finn the Human, all grown up and absolutely shredded, running through the forest that he takes Simon on a bro trip in. I love this design for Finn. From the wild long hair and beard, to the now iconic Jake tattoo on the middle of his chest, exposed for everyone to admire. And they actually confirmed in the second episode that Jake has sadly passed. Pretty early into Finn's life too. Pour one out for the best dog in the world. Next, we have the most intriguing shot in the entire intro for me. A glimpse into the desolate land of Ooh, 1,000 years into the future. The new tree grown from Fur's seedling stands tall, with the Finn sword right at the top, implying that we may not only be multiverse hopping, but time traveling to the Shermie and Beth era. I really hope they make an appearance. The channel changes to a close-up of another tree that I personally don't recognize, but I imagine will be important given how long it lingers. Though, if we were just given a glimpse into the future, then maybe this is a glimpse into the past. A glimpse into life prior to the Great Mushroom War changing everything. We glitch back to Fiona's apartment as it briefly flashes forward into a destroyed state. The entire top right side of the building where Fionna resides seems to have been blown up, as we can see a missing roof, smoke emerging, and a damaged exterior with shattered windows. Not to mention the red tint alluding to an impending tragedy. It definitely makes me think that the climax of this series will see whoever's hunting down Fionna, Cake, and Simon winding up in Fionna and Cake's sanitized world. It'd be pretty damn emotional to see Fionna and Cake do everything in their power to protect a world they didn't even think they wanted to be a part of. And if all of this wasn't crazy enough, the shot of the destroyed building is obscured by a giant tear, as if the fabric of reality is being ripped apart. Very ominous. Next up, in what has to be my favorite part of this intro, we get 3 black and white shots of Simon lying on the ground. Not only highlighting his struggles with depression, but once again emphasizing his importance in this series. And on the third shot, blue sparkles in a portal begin to shoot out of his head, a nod to how Cake, and presumably Fionna, cross over to his world through his head. Fooly Cooly style. Fionna and Cake find themselves in the time room and bounce off Prismo's head, kinda just including him to emphasize his own importance to the story, as we already know he'll play a big role. Another glitch shows us something we've already seen in the trailer. Fionna and Cake squaring off against Candy citizens. But take a good look at Fiona's sword. Not only does it have the same color scheme as the Ice King, with the different shades of blue and yellow hilt, but the Rain Guard also has 3 red diamonds engraved into it, like the 3 gems on the Ice King's crown. So we can figure out that the sword came from a different Ice King. The next glitch shows Fionna and Cake wandering through a desert-like area with sweat on their foreheads and tears running down their faces. It's hard to figure out these tears are a result of exhaustion or grieving. And although I don't really have much to add here other than pointing out that Fiona's wearing a peculiar green jacket, kinda looks like Ben 10's, and her backpack looks beat up, I just gotta say, I love the background art in this shot, especially the details around the sun. Very cool stuff. We glitch back one more time to Fionna and Cake sprinting out of the time room and diving headfirst into the multiverse, embracing their newfound knack for adventure, followed by a sick yet somber title drop, and Simon holding on to dear life as he free falls through the cosmos. Peep the crown stuck to the bottom of this Tetris block. Might be important. This has quickly become one of my favorite intros to a show in quite some time. Again, I just love how unique and mysterious it is. And I can't wait to have context to things like Fiona's destroyed apartment complex and the land of Ooh 1000. We're truly in great hands here. The Adventure Time team popped off with this one. And as always, I want to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on the Fionna and Cake intro? And if you watched the first 2 episodes thus far, did you love them? Hate them? Drop your hot takes in the comments. And give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at AwestruckVox. Check out ToonDrip for some dope cartoon merch, and if you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like, subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!